The internet is still a screaming void of hot takes, bad faith arguments, and people treating policy debates like they're auditioning for the real housewives of political discourse.
An undocumented migrant has caused a crime. I would want the American court system to handle it and actually imprison that person rather than allowing them to be free. Like, I don't want to get a trip back home. You know what I mean? And then just be like, all right.
You know what? That's a good point. You know, if we would do like the deportation of undocumented migrants that have committed violent crimes, it'd be conditional given where they're deported would be where they land in a jail cell.
Or like, I mean, or I would rather house them in the American carceral structure to ensure that they are actually serving, like to ensure that they're just served. Here's a good debate tactic.
That's actually a great argument. I think that's a great point.
Ask Republicans.
Yeah. So is this a great argument? The issue then is that you have to be careful about the system of incentives you create. If there's an undocumented immigrant here and they know they're going to be kicked out, or they could be kicked out, couldn't they just commit a violent crime and then they're guaranteed to stay in the U.S. for however long their prison sentences at least? And also, do we want to pay money to be housing those people for a long time? Like, I don't know. I feel like it's okay to just deport them. Yeah.
Every time they say, "Oh, I want undocumented migrants that have caused crimes to be deported," ask them, why do you want to roam free if they'd already not?
Because they'd rather already dealt with by another country, even if that means they roam free, rather than us paying money to house them. No.
Let's say an undocumented migrant is like done a heinous
cooking with that one. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Why have I never thought of that? What the?
Because you don't understand anything about the legal system. So now you have an undocumented person taking up, high five figure a year pay. They're not getting paid that, but we have to pay that money to house them here. And then on top of that, if they're going to be treated as American prisoners, they should be afforded all the rights of an American prisoner. So they get however many appeals, they get assigned however many public defenders, they get to clog up however many courts. No. Why would you want to spend all this money for what is the principle that we're appealing to here? Just because we don't want them to go free in another country? I don't think that's a compelling enough reason. Maybe we could say for exceptional crimes, so like for forcible and for maybe for murder, maybe sure. But otherwise, I don't know, man. I don't think that's a strong enough argument to clog up our system that much.
I haven't thought about that either.
You don't want punishment. You don't want crimes to be punished. That's weird. So
is that what jail is supposed to be for? Is just punishment? Like,
that's a nice little debate tactic there. But it is something that I also believe. I want amnesty for all undocumented immigrants that are living on U.S. soil right now, as long as they have not committed like any sort of heinous crime. But even when we entertain the notion that like we're deporting violent criminals or the Trump administration is like going after violent criminals, I think you guys all know that that's not the case.
No.
It's not like the previous administration was like, "Oh, are you Guatemalan and you did okay, sorry, we can't arrest you." Like, that's so stupid. Like, no, of course, being arrested and being prosecuted, right? So that notion is like that premise that they operate off of is like a faulty hidden premise. The idea that like the Biden administration was not adequately targeting people that have done crimes, regardless of their immigration status, and that's precisely the reason why I believe it was the Associated Press that came out with initial reporting that the majority of the undocumented migrants that have been deported so far, some of which aren't even undocumented, by the way. They are deporting documented non-citizens and undocumented non-citizens, and the majority of them had not committed any crimes, and a big chunk of those who had actually done crimes had done like trespassing, you know what I mean, or obstructing justice, like ridiculous, erroneous claims that normally would be thrown out under any other circumstance. And
I was under.
So it's Hassan's position is don't deport anyone. I think so, but his position is going to be really weird because I don't know how Marxists or whatever feel about immigration, or it's going to be some weird progressive crossover. The real reality is what we need to do is you need to lock people in a room. We should have like a debate. All the people that have strong opinions on this should be locked into rooms where they are forced to debate their honest positions. In my opinion, the biggest problem with a lot of conversations, but especially with immigration, but with a lot of conversations, nobody's honest about what they feel or honest about what they believe. If somebody were to come out and say, "I disagree with the path to amnesty because they've broken the law and they should go back and come back legally." Oh, okay, you believe that. Do you think we should make it a lot easier for people to immigrate here legally? No, I think the laws we have in place are good. There might even be too many. Okay, wait. Okay. Can we just eject all the... Can you just tell me honestly, you want less immigrants here, or at least I'll be polite and say low-skill immigrants and not just brown immigrants. You just want less low-skill immigrants here, period, right? Let's start the conversation from there. Instead of having to chew through so much about what's the right number, like, should we make immigration easier or harder? What kind of immigration? Like, let's start on our honest, actual positions instead of having to work back through so much. Oh my.
In one corner, we've got Hassan Piker, the Twitch-streaming, Marxist-leaning darling of the progressive left, serving up righteous indignation with a side of moral certainty. In the other corner, we've got Destiny, the debate lord supreme, slicing through arguments like a verbal buzzsaw, ready to expose the logical inconsistencies in your grandma's cookie recipe if you give him half a chance. And at the center of this cage match, the immigration debate, a topic so messy, so divisive, so ripe for bad takes that it's practically begging for a comedian to come in and set it on fire. And that's exactly what we're gonna do. Because when it comes to illegal immigration, people like Hassan and Trump aren't just missing the point. They're playing entirely different games, and the rest of us are stuck cleaning up the mess. Let's start with Hassan, because, oh boy, does this guy bring the vibes. He's on his stream, probably surrounded by Red Bull cans and posters of Noam Chomsky, going off about how the Trump administration's deportation machine isn't just targeting violent criminals, but scooping up regular folks. People whose biggest crime is, like, jaywalking or forgetting to renew their visa in 2003. He's waving his arms like he's conducting an orchestra of outrage, citing some half-remembered Associated Press report that says most deportees aren't criminals at all, unless you count trespassing or obstructing justice as crimes worthy of a one-way ticket to Nowhereville. And you know what? He's got a point. The system's not exactly surgical. It's more like a sledgehammer smashing a piñata full of human lives, candy, and chaos spilling everywhere. Hassan's out here screaming, "This isn't justice. This is cruelty." And the chat's going wild, spamming heart emojis like it's a Taylor Swift concert. But then Destiny slides in, cool as a cucumber, with the kind of logic that makes you feel like you're back in a college debate club, arguing about Kant, while everyone else is just trying to pass the class. He's like, okay, Hassan, hold up. You want amnesty for everyone who hasn't committed a heinous crime? Fine. But what about the actual criminals? The ones who've done, like, real stuff, assault, robbery, worse? You want them clogging up American prisons, costing taxpayers a fortune, with all the appeals and public defenders that come with it? Or do you just deport them and let them walk free in another country? It's a classic Destiny trap. Take your opponent's position, stretch it to its breaking point, and watch them try to wiggle out. And Hassan, to his credit, doesn't back down, but you can almost hear the dial-up modem sound as he tries to process the contradiction. Because Destiny's not wrong. You can't just wave a wand and say amnesty for all, without dealing with the messy reality of what that actually means. Now let's zoom out, because this isn't just about Hassan and Destiny duking it out in the digital coliseum. This is about the immigration debate itself, which is less a debate and more a three-ring circus where everyone's juggling flaming torches and nobody's watching the same show. On one side, you've got the progressive left, led by folks like Hassan, who see mass deportation as a moral abomination, a system that punishes the vulnerable while letting the real bad guys, think corporate tax evaders or wage-stealing COs, skate free. On the other side, you've got the Trump crowd waving America First flags like they're auditioning for a remake of Independence Day, acting like every undocumented immigrant is one bad day away from starring in a true crime podcast. And in the middle, a giant steaming pile of bad faith, where nobody's saying what they really think, because that would mean admitting some deeply inconvenient truths. Destiny's big gripe, and I'm right there with him, in my liberal, unhinged comedian heart, is that nobody's being honest. Hassan's out here preaching amnesty like it's the second coming, but when you push him on the details, it's like trying to herd cats with a pool noodle. What counts as a heinous crime? Murder? Sure. Armed robbery? Probably. But what about a bar fight? A DUI, stealing a loaf of bread. Because you're starving? Where's the line, Hassan? And don't even get me started on the Trump folks. They'll scream about deporting violent criminals until their vocal cords give out. But when you dig into the numbers, a lot of these deportations are targeting people whose biggest offense is existing without the right paperwork. Trespassing? Really? That's your big bad wolf. It's like deporting someone for forgetting to RSVP to a wedding. Sorry, Maria. You didn't fill out Form 47B in triplicate. Off to Honduras you go. And this is where the comedy turns dark, because this isn't just a game of who's got the better zinger. This is about real people. Families torn apart, communities living in fear, kids wondering if their mom's coming home from work or getting thrown on a bus to a country they've never seen. Hassan's right to shine a light on the human cost, the way this deportation dragnet scoops up the innocent along with the guilty. But Destiny's also right to ask, what's the plan? If you're gonna say, no deportations ever, you've got to grapple with the fact that not everyone's an angel. Some people do commit crimes, real ones. Not just, oops, I parked in a fire lane. We're talking assault, theft, worse. Do you keep them here, clogging up a prison system that's already so overcrowded? It's basically a human Tetris game? Or do you deport them and hope they don't just sneak back across the border? It's a mess. And pretending it's not a mess is where the whole conversation goes off the rails. Let's talk about incentives, because Destiny's got this knack for zooming in on the nuts and bolts of why things are so broken. He's like, okay, if you tell undocumented immigrants they'll get deported for any crime, what's stopping someone from going all in? Like, well, I'm getting kicked out anyway, might as well rob a bank and live large for a week. It's a grim thought, but it's not crazy. Incentives matter. If deportation's the default punishment, you're not just punishing crime. You're creating a system where people have nothing to lose. And if you go the other way and say, amnesty for everyone, you're potentially incentivizing people to game the system, knowing they can stay as long as they don't do anything too bad. It's like a high-stakes poker game where nobody knows the rules, and the dealer's just making it up as they go. And then there's the cost. Oh, sweet merciful tacos, the cost. Destiny's out here doing back-of-the-envelope math, like he's pitching a startup on Shark Tank, pointing out that housing undocumented immigrants in American prisons isn't exactly pocket change. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars a year per person, plus the cost of lawyers, court hearings, appeals, the whole legal carnival. And for what? So we can say we punished someone? So we can pat ourselves on the back for justice. Meanwhile, taxpayers are footing the bill, and the prisons are so packed they're starting to look like the world's worst Airbnb. But deport them, and you might be letting someone dangerous walk free in another country, where they could dodge consequences entirely. It's a lose-lose, and Destiny's just sitting there, shaking his head like, can we at least talk about this like adults?